Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, we are going to be talking about how we can connect Power BI to our SQL databases. And for my example, I'm going to be using the PostgreSQL connector because I have PostgreSQL running on my machine. Now, before we dive into specifics, let's discuss some best practices when connecting SQL databases to Power BI. Right. So first thing, before you connect your SQL database to your Power BI, you need to understand your data source, right? So basically, you need to be familiar with the tables, the relationships, and the data types in your database. You also have to be aware of your data volume, right? So you need to be aware of the size of the data in your SQL database so as to optimize the performance. So another tip I like sharing is when connecting your data from your SQL database to Power BI, it's much more advisable to connect views rather than connecting tables. And we all know about views and what we know views are, what tables are. Right. So basically, why views consolidate data from multiple tables into one single data set, and this basically reduces the complexity in Power BI because then you're working with fewer objects and you do not have to do so much manipulation in Power BI as all the manipulation may have been done when creating the view. So views also allow us retrieve only the necessary data, right? So that way we are reducing the data load into Power BI, right? So they expose only specific data, just what we want, right? So let's focus on how to actually connect our Postgres database to Power BI. Before I do that, I'm going to create a database in SQL, in PostgreSQL, and I'm going to also just create a view. So I'm going to switch to my PostgreSQL and I'm going to create a database called sales data. And you can see it here. I'm going to just create a database called sales data and I would run it. Let me zoom in a bit so we can actually see it better. So I think this is bigger. So I'm going to run this query to create a database called sales data. And so you can do that as well while you're practicing. Right, so I believe my database is created. I'm going to just view it here. So sales data, right? Not yet created. I'm going to run that again. Okay, so it's created now, and I can see sales data is created, but it's empty. There's nothing in sales data. We want to just add some tables to that database. I have a script that I have prepared and I'm going to attach that script to this video just so you have the same scripts and you can practice with them. I have a script here and I'm going to open it. So here's my script. I called it Create SQL Database. I'm going to just open it and I have that script here. So I'm going to make sure I run. So I added a few notes, right? And I said first you have to ensure you've created a database and you're working in that newly created database. So this script is also adjusted to work on PostgreSQL. If you're working in other DBMSs, you have to adjust some things. For example, the serial keyword works in Postgres. If you're working in MySQL, it will be auto increment, for example. So yeah, so I'm going to just copy this script, just copy it, just to be sure I'm running in my, and I'm going to just paste it here. Let's comment the create database out. I'm just going to comment this out. And I'm going to run this to create all these tables. So I'm creating some tables. I'm creating a dimension table called product that will store the product data. I'm creating a dimension table for customers. I'm creating the dimension table for employees, for time. And I'm creating a facts table that will store my sales data. Now, I'm also going to be inserting some values. So I'm inserting these values into the products table, inserting these values into the customer table, inserting these values into the employee table, time table, and then inserting these values into my facts table. Then what I want to do is actually to create a view called view sales summary that summarizes the sales information across the database. So the view is called VW sales summary, and the view is just me selecting from all these tables and doing simple joins. And so I'm gonna run all this just so our sales data table is our sales data database is populated with tables and records. So running that, team product already exists. Okay, I think I had something running before. Okay, so this is what I said, that you should ensure you're working in a newly created database. I was working in another database where I already had a team product table, so I'm going to create a new query, and just to be sure I'm working within that database. Pardon me. So I'm going to create a new query console, and I'm going to paste what we copied earlier. Just paste it here. So everything we copied earlier, and I'm going to run this again. And so let's select everything and then run everything at once. So it's completed, and I should have my data in my public schema. I should have my data. So you can see I have 5 tables: dim customer, dim employee, dim product, dim time, fact sales, and I have one view. Remember, we created a view. We created a view called view sales summary. View sales summary, where we want to summarize all the sales information across the database, right? So we have that view sales summary here in my view, and this is the view I actually want to import into Power BI, because again, I'm not bringing all these tables into Power BI, just considering the load time. Although this is not a really large data set, so it may not be really an issue, but I've done all my manipulations here. I've selected the fields I want here in my view. So let's head into Power BI. We have our view. Now, to add a SQL database in Power BI, there are some credentials that you will need. First of all, you need to know your server. So we're going to check it out. So let's click on Get Data. And let's search for SQL. So there are a lot of SQL databases you can actually connect to. There's SQL Server, there's SSAS, there's MySQL, there's Postgres, and there are these other ones. So I'm going to select Postgres because again, I'm running Postgres on my machine. I'm going to select Postgres. I'm going to click on Connect. And I mentioned some credentials that you would need to know. First of all, you need to know your server, like your server address. Most likely it's going to be localhost. If you're running on your own personal computer, most likely it's going to be localhost. And you need to know your database name. I think our database is called sales data. That's the database you created when you're creating your scripts here. So, my database is called sales data. You can see here. So and then we've spoken about connectivity mode, where there are 2 different connectivity modes. There's direct query and there's import. Import brings in the data in the database as is into Power BI. Direct query actually runs a query against the database each time you refresh. So I'm going to just settle for import for the sake of this video and click on OK. So it's connecting to my database, and you can see everything we had, right? We had 5 tables. Remember, we had dim customer, dim employee, dim product, dim time, and fact sales, and we had one view sales summary. So you see we have all that in Power BI. dim customer, dim employee, dim product, dim time, fact sales, and we have our view. You can see the symbol for the view is a bit different than from the symbol from tables. So we're going to click on view sales summary. That's what I want to bring in, right? And this is my data. And we're already familiar with load or transform. I'm going to do load for now. Again, I'm going to do load. And it's loading, it's loading, it's loading, loading, and it's loaded. We have our database in Power BI, and you can see the fields right here. So I want you to try this out on your own. Ensure you try it out. Try connecting whatever SQL databases you have to Power BI. If you do not have access to one, you can set up one for practice. So in the coming videos, we're going to be talking about data transformation in Power BI. So stay tuned for that and see you in the next video.